Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you all are having a great day. So, they want to talk about some of the latest news that's happening with Zen. Zen, I think, is starting to show some very bullish signs, right? And I think a lot of that's going to be incoming or related to some of the negative news that's happening with the hex community. And the reason I'm kind of coming to this conclusion between these two communities is that I think that people are starting to see some of the dangers in association with hex, and much of that community may begin to shift to the Zen community. And the reason I'm saying that is it's not so much that I'm so much pro Zen and so much anti hex. I'm actually not anti hex at all. But again, the purpose of this channel, we try to provide all the information available uh, and not become the very thing that we try not to be when Bitcoin created the idea of the maximalists, right? It would seem that certain communities, and I think Hex has become one, has become the very thing that they didn't like about Bitcoin, and that's maximalism, right? And that's becoming this hex maximalist, where everything else is not a good cryptocurrency, right? So it seems like Richard Hart did the very thing with his project that he's spoke out against the Bitcoin community about, right? And much like any cult, I become very skeptical once that cult starts to talk about uh, there should be no consideration of other cryptocurrency projects, or that they shouldn't have any competitors, where it's better products, and so on and so forth, right? But in any event, uh, there's this question going out right now, that is this information with the SEC that's been put out there. Is it FUD, right? Or is this just a means for the Hex community to try to protect the value of Hex and the integrity of Hex as long as possible? Uh, if it's not FUD, right? My thoughts are, whether it's FUD or not, it really doesn't matter. And the reason being is that because Hex, as far as I can tell, it occupies all of the characteristics of what the SEC would look at as a problem cryptocurrency, right? It's raised way too much money, billions of dollars, right? That immediately put it on the on the under the microscope of the SEC. But then there are all of these questionable things going on about all of this money just locked up in the origin address, right? That origin address wallet has become the Achilles heel, I believe, of the Hex community, right? And that's why I'm looking at where Zen could become very much the replacement for the Hex community, right? I think that is very likely. Uh, Again, I don't think it matters at this stage if those SEC documents were legit or not. And the reason being is that I think because Hex occupies the characteristics of the type of project the SEC is probably going to come after anyway, that is probably, even if these are fake documents, it's probably still just a matter of time before Hex would be targeted in this manner, right? I don't doubt it at all. Even this type of news, as big as it gets, it just further puts Hex under the SEC microscope. So maybe if the SEC wasn't considering Hex before, it probably is now. So it's probably going to go down this road, right? It's probably going down this road. Um, Yeah, it's saying that in the letters addressed to certain individuals that they believe the influencers who got this research information or these notifications from the SEC, these subpoenas. We believe that you may possess documents and data that are relevant to an ongoing investigation being conducted by the staff of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, isn't Cointelegraph supposed to be somewhat legitimate crypto news source, right? Are they just putting stuff out there? The letter was accompanied by a subpoena that was issued as part of the investigation, which demanded the influencers in question to produce required documents by November 15th, 2022. So by November 15th, 2022. So I don't know, guys, if this is legit or not. But as I said, it probably doesn't matter. Some people are saying it's a phishing scheme, right? And these people producing these documents. Now, the thing about it is, again, I will say this: even if this isn't true, it's probably likely that the SEC will come for Hicks either way, at some point in the future. And it then is more or less a question of not so much is this legit, but if you're a Hexican, what are you going to do? Like, is this going to affect the price of Hex? Is Hex going to go the way of the other projects that have been under the gun of the SEC? Because if history serves me correct, what I've noticed is that every uh, uh, coin that's been targeted by the SEC has lost, right? Not only have they lost, but value wise, they have suffered and dropped a lot. And there's many reasons for that. No institution is going to be able to get involved with it. You're just going to be basically funded by retail investors, right? Is going to cap off your growth, right? You're only going to be able to go so far in the space because of the risk posed by the full force of these governments coming at you, right? And that's another thing. Like oftentimes, if the SEC, if the United States is banning your cryptocurrency and not your cryptocurrency, it's probably likely that other nations are going to follow suit. So it's going to, create some problems there. Um, what I'm suggesting is by default, I could see Zen becoming the victor in this situation. Now, guys, this is what you all have to. Some of you guys watch the video. Uh, Oftentimes, you all don't comment on this. When you do comment, it's not about what I'm trying to say to you now. So here are some problems, guys, with all this going on with Hex, or potentially going on, or will potentially likely be going on. What's happening is many of you guys aren't changing your habits, right? Some of you guys promoting what is being deemed as could be deemed as unregistered securities, Ponzi schemes, and so on. Many of the content influencers and creators out there, they're still promoting these projects, right? And then these projects crash and burn, and they lose a lot of their viewers' money, and then their viewers leave their channels, and they lose in that regard, right? You as an investor, you lose your money, right? Uh, when we have very intelligent people in the space telling you all that probably makes more sense to mint a free cryptocurrency like Zen. Now, as many of you all know, I'm not saying Zen is perfect and that this can't happen to Zen, right? Jack Levin came on the scene. He created this coin rather quickly, right? We should be skeptical of it to a degree, much like people were of Hex and many others, these cryptocurrencies, right? But the thing that's helping Jack Levin out at this point in time is number one, not only, are you able to mint it for free and the money's not going directly to him, but he doesn't seemingly have any wallets that are assigned to him that is carrying a great amount of Zen. Now, could Jack Levin be on the back end? Could he be colluding with people? Could it be entities he's in charge of, so on and so forth? Yes. And if that's the case, that's a problem, right? That's a problem. But Jack Levin is still coming off uh, um, opposite how Richard Hart was, where he would just say, "Don't worry about other people's money," you know, as to say, if it is his money and it's all his control over over these networks and these projects, that it should be no concern of anybody else's, and he control the network and so on and so forth. It could be a centralized network. It shouldn't be our problem to worry about. But Jack Levin, he does the opposite. He comes out straightforward and he says that he didn't mint a lot of Zen at the beginning and so on and so forth. So he presents the idea that his acquisition of his Zen and his rank was about as fair to launch as anybody else's. Now, again, that could not be true, and that's why I'm not any coin a maximalist in any coin, right? Except maybe my own Bitcoin MYK. But even if that's the case to a degree, uh, and you're in these hex communities and post chain communities and so on and so forth, where there may be severe legal consequences coming to these projects, to your money, and in some cases directly to the influencers and the channels, right? You guys out there talking about these projects, right? Uh, Putting yourself in legal hot water in some cases, right? Um, Now with Zen, right? Again, at this point in time, the concept is we know you can get it free, you can mint it free, seemingly for a very, very long time, or seemingly forever, right? There isn't any cap off or anything like that, so to speak, where somebody can really have an unfair advantage to a severe degree at this point in time. Now, maybe far in the future that might change, right? But for now, on paper, Zen seems and looks better and demonstrable better or demonstrable better than Hex did in its beginning, Genesis, and so on. My problem with you guys is this, right? You have a problem obtaining a free cryptocurrency, projects like Zen Crypto, Bitcoin MYK that are absolutely free, but you're willing to risk all your money in a project that is likely going to be hit by the SEC, likely it's going to cost you money, and it just uh, is hard to understand the mental thought process behind that, right? I understand how greed works and I understand how opportunity works. But there is a pattern in cryptocurrency that we've seen time and time again with these projects that emerge and have these big gains, and then they're targeted by regulatory bodies, and then they disappear, they go to nothing, and people lose all their money. And it's a repetitive pattern, and it's a pattern that we can kind of instinctively know. We don't really need a lot of information. It doesn't take a lot to look at Hex and Pulse and how they're constructed and see that that's a problem, right? That these are problem. And look, let me be clear here. Richard Hart could be very benevolent. He could mean well in all of these things, right? And he could have no intentions of harming anybody. But the entire point of crypto is the idea that we shouldn't have to even, that shouldn't even have to come into question, right? We shouldn't have to accept Richard Hart or anybody else is benevolent to do the right thing. Also, in the article, if it's true, there seems to be information from Richard Hart teaching people how to hide their chats from the SEC and any kind of legal information that could assist them, which makes the hex community look even worse, right? It doesn't make you look, innocent of anything. And if you're not a security, then you shouldn't have to worry about any of those things, right? So it's very troubling when you think of it in terms like that. Uh, the problem, guys, is that the projects that look good and that seem to do everything fair in the right way are the ones that you all seemingly avoid, right? And put yourself in a dangerous position. Even with Zen, right? Even with a pedigree like Jack Levin has, being one of the first employees at Google, being a very smart, intelligent person, creating these projects that are absolutely free for you to jump in and gain value through. There are people who are still talking about they don't want to mint a free cryptocurrency. They're talking about they're they rather invest in these high risk cryptocurrencies. Does that make any sense to you all? Not only should, in my opinion, people be minting and getting involved in free projects like Zen, they should be getting involved with every free project. Projects like Bitcoin MYK that you don't even have to sync your wallet up. I mean, that is very deflationary and it's building up network value and network effect. Uh, any of those projects like that, right, where they are seemingly conducted by legit people that don't need your money, right? That have created the product for you to come and use without you spending a dime. It was already there, and that's another problem I have with the Hex Post community, right? That even though allegedly Hex made all these billions of dollars, right, for all of the participants, it was still necessary for Richard Hart to raise even more money in the post community, right? Just after more and more money. And now he's created this storm of people who think he is a scammer and has all their money, right? But the thing is, why did he need to raise more money? Why not just have Hex be the coin of the post community, the post chain, right? Build the darn thing. What he could have did it with all